His father, John's grandfather, had also earned that top rank in the Navy. In fact, members of the McCain family had fought in every U.S. war, going back to the American Revolution. Because the McCains moved so often, young John found it hard to make lasting friends. It didn't help that he also tended to get angry easily. At 2 years old, if John didn't get his way, he would hold his breath until he passed out. When he began attending school, he often got in trouble for fighting. John was small for his age, and he sometimes felt he had to prove how tough he was by starting these fights. With his father often away for military duty, John grew close to his mother. From her, he learned to find pleasure whenever he could. Like her, he was outgoing and enjoyed meeting people. And while spending one summer at his grandmother's house, John discovered that he loved to read. Many of the books were adventure tales, and from them John learned that to be a good person, he should treat people fairly. At 15, John entered Episcopal High School, a private school for boys in Alexandria, Virginia. His parents wanted him to get a good high school education that would prepare John to enter the U.S. Naval Academy. From an early age, John knew he would attend the academy and then become a Navy officer, just as his father and grandfather had. John continued to get into trouble at Episcopal. The school had strict rules. Students had to wear a jacket and tie to class, and they were expected to keep their rooms clean. John broke the rules almost every chance he got. His room was often messy, and he wore jeans with an old jacket. At times, he broke another rule by leaving his room at night to go to nearby Washington, D.C. First-year students at Episcopal were called rats by the older students. John earned the nickname Worst Rat. Sports helped John win some friends at Episcopal. He was a good athlete and played 3 sports: tennis, wrestling, and football. He also became close with one of his coaches and teachers, William Ravenel. In Mr. Ravenel's class, John deepened his love of reading. The teacher also taught John the importance of following the school's code of honor. The code stressed that students should not lie, cheat, or steal. Following the code helped shape a person's character, or how well or badly they acted. Later in life, John wrote, "It is your character, and your character alone, that will make your life happy or unhappy." In 1954, John graduated from Episcopal and entered the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. The rules there were even stricter than they had been at Episcopal. And once again, John got into trouble. He often had to march for miles as punishment for being late to class, not keeping his room clean, or breaking other rules. John also sometimes struggled with his studies. His favorite subjects were English and history. The academy, though, required many science and math classes, subjects John found difficult. He often asked other students to help him prepare the night before a test. He later said, "I got by, just barely at times, but I got by." In 1958, he left the academy as an ensign, the lowest rank for an officer in the Navy. For the next several years, John learned how to fly planes. Most Navy planes fly from large ships called aircraft carriers. John had to learn the difficult task of taking off and landing while the ship moved through rolling waves. Despite the challenges, he loved being a carrier pilot. During the early 1960s, he served on ships that cruised the Mediterranean and Caribbean seas. John also spent time working on naval bases. In Mississippi, he trained other pilots at a base called McCain Airfield, which had been named in honor of his grandfather. While in Mississippi, John sometimes traveled to Philadelphia to visit Carol Shep. They had met in the 1950s, when John was at the Naval Academy. In 1965, the couple married. John adopted Carol's 2 sons from an earlier marriage, Douglas and Andrew. He and Carol then had a daughter, Sydney. John loved his family and the good times he had with friends at the Navy bases. But what he wanted most of all was to fly planes in combat. He got the chance at the end of 1966. He was assigned to the aircraft carrier USS Forrestal. The ship was soon on its way to Vietnam, where the United States was fighting a major war. By the summer of 1967, John was 31 years old and had earned the rank of lieutenant commander. He had flown 5 bombing missions over North Vietnam. He almost never got the chance to fly his 6th. One day, as he prepared to take